So I've had a lot of conversations lately with people who are selling something to enterprise, usually SaaS or services or some unique combination that is half SaaS and half consulting services. So one of the things they're talking about is we have this thing, we know what it does, we know how it's going to help the organization, and we're trying to figure out how to sell it. And so the first question that I am always asking is, what do you know about who your buyer is? And what I'm hearing a lot from people really across the gamut, both people who are super inexperienced in enterprise sales and people who are relatively mature founders, is they're like, our buyer is like an engineering team lead or something like that, right? And so we talk through like, well, why is this your buyer? And they'll give me an answer like, well, because the engineering teams really need this. So I end up pulling up the enterprise staircase with people that I think are super mature founders that I didn't expect to need it. What I'm finding is that there is this misunderstanding about the enterprise buyer because when you're selling to consumer, there is typically one buyer. The person who benefits is the person who spends the money. And you're like, I am selling toothpaste. Would you like to buy my toothpaste for your teeth in your house that you will put in your own mouth? If somebody is buying toothpaste, their buying journey is they go to the store or see my Facebook ad for specialty toothpaste. You go to their toothpaste selling portal online or in person, and you decide what features you want. You get sold on the product, you buy it, and then you use it. I would say the number one thing that people selling to enterprise don't realize is that it's not just about buying, it's about procurement. And so there's really three different dimensions that you have to nail at the same time when you sell to enterprise. So the first dimension is value. What team benefits from it? And specifically, you're looking for who is the individual person whose performance metrics are driven by the metric that you are improving. So I'll say that again. Who is the individual person whose annual review of their performance is measured by the same metric that your product or service is improving? That is going to be your champion. That's not necessarily your buyer, but it's the person that wants your product. And it may or may not be the same person as the people who are using your product. So there's who uses the product and how do we actually get them to use it. Then there's who is the person incentivized to get the outcome that your product delivers, which is not necessarily the people using it in enterprise. Then who is the person with the budgetary capability to approve that purchase line? And that person is typically most commonly your champion or, your metric person's boss. Who's the person typically responsible at a strategic level for the type of thing that you are selling, but is viewing it on a landscape compared to all the other strategic options that they have? And you have to sell that person on approving the budget for this particular strategic approach. And then lastly, what is the administrative structure for making the purchase? So the point is, when I ask somebody, who is your buyer? What is your buying journey? They typically give me like one or two of them. So then I end up making everybody fill out the staircase, even though it's like really unattractive right now, honestly. So this is the product market fit staircase. If you want to know a lot more about the product market fit staircase, you should check out our whole entire long Substack post with detailed instructions on it. It's actually efficient and very fun. But the point is, you're going from the bottom to the top. And the idea is that you can't really hit product market fit until you hit each of these categories that are subsets of validation. And furthermore, and most importantly, it's a staircase because each one ladders on top of the other. So like your feasibility sanity check, if the thing you're building isn't even feasible, don't worry about whether people will buy it because it can't possibly work anyway, right? So you're trying to solve them from the bottom layer up and up and up and up so that you're not wasting any time in rework. So the consumer version of the staircase really is like single step by single step. Or the enterprise version has this big zone here. And this big zone is all interdependent. Like if I could, I would actually like make a little wheel here, but that's a weird interface for a spreadsheet. So it doesn't have that. And you can solve all of these 5 dimensions simultaneously. But when we talk about who is the user, we're really talking about this entire 3-zone blob. So the bottom one is, what type of organization are you hitting for? Are you able to like successfully get the integrations you need and successfully plug into the organization? And which budget does it come out of? That is something that many people don't think of because they're like, this creates value. But if a corporation could purely optimize on what is profitable, it would be so much smarter. But it doesn't think based on end path to profitability. A corporation thinks based on budgetary paths. Whatever it cares about, it puts more budget in. So everything that an enterprise customer can do has a budget line. This is the thing that makes it really, really different from a consumer purchase is you can't just decide that something is good for you and buy it. It has to go through some specific budget. So that budget belongs to a department, it has an owner, and it has rules around it. If you're selling a pilot or even trial, right, there's a number under which an interested party can put something on a company credit card and buy it instantly. There's some simple enterprise tools you can impulse buy. In organizations might be under 5 to 10K, where a manager can just approve it themselves to go try out. Then there's another line, maybe around like 50 or 100K, where they need to get another layer of approval. And the higher it is, the higher layer of approval it is, right? So that means like if you're pricing yourself and you're, deciding 9K subscription versus a 10K subscription, that sounds like a small difference, but it actually goes through a completely different budgetary approval process. And so you want to know what budgetary approval process you're going through. And the best way to find out is literally just to grab anyone from the organization and ask them, because it's not a secret or anything. You can just be like, hey, I'm trying to sell this. What budget should it come out of? Like, do you have a budget for this sort of thing? About how big is your budget and how much of it every year is discretionary versus pre-committed? And like, if I wanted to be a part of the conversation about being in the budget for this year, who am I talking to and what time of year should I be having that conversation? But even without getting to that level of detail, the question you always want to know is what is the number above which like you need to escalate approval? And that's a very simple thing. There's no taboo. You just ask everybody. You need to know that right off the bat. Like, what is the number you can put on your credit card? And then you just design your offering into that structure.